Caroline Dixon, Durham Women's Football Club, centre defence.
What do you make of the women's game at this moment in time?
I mean, over the last 10 years it's progressed, it's just going up and up, especially the WSL one now, they're trying to promote it to 10 teams, so there's a chance for 2 teams from the WSL2 to get promoted, so it's just ever expanding.
Jennifer Jennings, I play right back or centre back for Durham Women FC. I think the women's game is growing massively, both in England and abroad. The number of girls that are coming up through the systems is growing as well, and it's great to see them getting involved at such a young age.
What do you enjoy most about playing?
Being on the pitch. You work hard all week, you do two or 3 sessions as a squad, train individually, and then it's just travelling on a Saturday potentially, and then it's just stepping onto the field on a Sunday and trying to put all your hard work into play.
The social aspect of it, I think, so I've got a full-time job as a PE teacher, so for me it's nice to get away from work and come to football and relax a little bit with the girls and have a bit of stress relief sort of.
Who got you into football?
Actually my sister used to play, she's older than me, so she played for a girls team when she was about 15. But I was actually doing gymnastics at the time, so I just went along to a training session and I got into it. But I used to watch my uncle play. He used to play for Arsenal when I was younger, so I grew up watching him as well.
My dad, I think. I can't really remember too much. I started at a young age, so 6-year-old playing with the boys in the streets, and then went from there onto a club for a boys team and then into a women's team. So.
Why do you think women's football doesn't get as much coverage as the men's game?
I think money, players' wages. Obviously, there's a big market in men's football. They get a lot of sponsorship deals. Their wages are ridiculous. A lot of marketing goes into it as well. But as I said, the game's ever growing, and I don't think the women's game will ever be that big. But it's only a positive that it is getting bigger.
I think it's difficult. I think all women's sports are the same. In terms of the media coverage and the sponsorship involved, they're just not as well publicised. I don't know why that is. I think it is changing, or it's beginning to change, which is great to see, but it needs more still.
Do you believe that the World Cup in June can be the catalyst for women's football becoming more popular?
Oh, definitely, especially with the way that England women are performing right now. During the qualifiers, they had some great results. So I think if they can go there and potentially make the semi-finals, they'll get a lot more girls hoping to play football, and they're just great role models for them.
I think it's got definite potential to be a changing point. I think the Women's Super League as it is has already begun in this country to develop it and get more in the media coverage, but I think depending on how much it's on the TV, it has got potential to boost the figures even more. So.
In what ways would you go about altering the perception of women's football to fans?
Get them along to a game. They have this perception of girls can't play football. Fair enough, we might not be as athletic or as muscular as the men, but technically you see some of the ability of some players, and they're up there with the very best. Also goes to show with the goal of the year, you had a woman up there in the top 3, so it's all positives.
I think, to be honest, just getting them down and involved in the atmosphere around the women's football games, I think it's completely different to the men's football games. I think it's a lot more personal, so interacting with the players is a lot easier. So I think asking people to come down, I think, is the best way, because once people come down to games, it's very rare that they don't come back.
Would you welcome more sponsorship and TV deals in the women's game?
Oh, definitely. That's how you get the crowds. BT have done a fantastic job this year, showing the highlights. So if you can get more people seeing it on TV, they're more likely to come to a game, and it's all about generating them crowds.
Absolutely. Any help is massively appreciated. Obviously we don't have as much media coverage as the men, so even basic things such as training kit and travel to away games is something that we have to worry about, whereas the men's equivalent, it's not an issue for them. They can just go out and buy the equipment that we need, whereas for us it's a bit more of a struggle.
Against Germany, Wembley was the biggest attendance ever recorded for an England women's game. Do you think this is a sign that fans are really engaging with the women's?
Oh, definitely. 55,000 is just unbelievable. For the girls that were involved, it's a dream come true playing a team like Germany, world champions at Wembley. That's why you play football, to play and at them kind of scenes.
Definitely. I personally took a school trip, so some of the girls from school down to Wembley for the first time, and they absolutely loved it. They said it was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, but for me hearing that, I was hoping it wouldn't be, and that they would get the opportunity to go again. They loved it, and they're wanting to go back, so fingers crossed the other 55,000 people did.
Is it refreshing to see that women's football is still a game in terms of the men's game becoming more of a business now?
I think it is. It is definitely a game. As I said before, I don't think it'd ever be a business in that sense. You know, the money that goes into the men's game is too high. But you ask any player why they play, and ultimately it comes down because they love the sport.
Definitely, yeah. It is about skill, whereas I think the men's is more, as you say, it is more of a business. So they're out there to make a profit, whereas the women's is still there for the enjoyment.
You mentioned Stephanie Roche became second to James Rodriguez for goal of the season. Do you believe that one day a woman will win?
I think it'd be a big statement if a woman was to win. You know, she must be overjoyed even just to be nominated. But it just proves how far the women's game has come.
Personally, I think she should have won. Speaking to a lot of people on social media as well, I think there was a lot of people that were surprised that she didn't win. But I think in terms of worldwide coverage, people know James Rodriguez a lot more than Stephanie Roche, so they've gone with the name rather than the goal, in my opinion.
Are people condescending towards women female players, do you think?
I don't think so. I mean, I've never had any, bad vibes. Maybe growing up, but that was from like younger boys. But everyone that I meet now, I work in a school, and the boy students that come up to me and they're like, "Missy, do you play football?" I talk about it, and you can see that they're really interested, and it's not kind of a snigger, and they're not saying, "Oh, she plays football, she can't play." Like they're actually really interested, and you'll catch them going on YouTube and stuff, and like, "Oh, Miss, you are actually quite good."
In some situations, I would agree. I mean, obviously the people that are around the club and around the games and fixtures come because they enjoy it, whereas I think those who've never experienced women's football before tend to see it, they look down on it maybe. It's not as good as the men's game, it's not as professional, so I think people do.
How does it feel to be Caroline Dixon men's team?
That's quite a big statement. For us, we're always looking to improve. We're just trying to put women's football on the map, and if we can inspire a younger generation, I guess that's what it's about.
Absolutely. It's nice to be sort of seen as the elite, especially around the university, so it is a good feeling.
Yeah, against such a big team spirit in the cup, obviously you finished sixth last season. What was the key element of that?
I think a lot of it was a core group of the girls had played together with the South Durham Ancestria. They'd come up, and the addition of older players. We had a long pre-season, so we've come in early June, July, and the season didn't start till March. So the chemistry that we built along the way definitely helped us on the pitch.
I think obviously being a new squad, we were a completely new squad, team, club that formed at the beginning of last season, and we didn't have a great beginning of the season. Everyone will say that looking at the league fixtures, we were looking bottom of the league, only a few points up until halfway through the season. And I think that's pulled us together, so I think now with experience, we've been through the lows, now it's time to build and go up through the highs this season, so I'm looking forward to pushing on.
And what are your targets for this year?
We finished 6th last season, so I think top 4 finish would be the aim for a club of this size. If you think of it as a 5-year plan, then potentially WSL1 in the next few years.
Personally, maintain a first team shirt. I think that's the ambition of every female footballer and everyone at the club. Get a few experiences under my belt. Obviously started playing a new position, so try and get a better understanding of playing it right back, and hopefully finish in the top 4.